The sports news on Omni Audio Africa with Romy Titus and Kevin McCallum.
We're back on air again.
Yes,
Just waiting for
Where have
Daniel
you
to
been?
pick up the phone. I just around thereabouts.
Maybe he's doing that routine that Kevin was talking about with the iPads, with the collagen,
the
and
tape
the
on his
nose,
mouth.
and the Evian
How you
water
boys?
from the.
How's it, Daniel? It's boys and girls.
Boys.
Romy
Boys
Ti-
and
Last
girls.
I
it's
checked,
Romy
there wasn't a
Titus,
boy.
Daniel.
Romy, how are you, Romy?
No, it's the first time you've spoken to Romy.
I'm good, thanks. How are
Yeah.
you?
First time I've spoken, yeah.
Yeah, MK is now in Malta doing whatever he does there. Yeah, he's
God rest his omni soul, eh?
indeed. Daniel, Trent Alexander Arnold, off to Real Madrid, but he's taking some absolute abuse about this.
You know, Kev, the last time I was on the show,
Yeah.
it was a little bit, let's say controversial. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the sense that we were talking Saudi, if you remember.
Yeah.
We were talking the Saudi World Cup, and you know, you had one or two kind of concerns over the LGBTQ plus, discriminatory laws in Saudi. And my response to that was, well, if you're gay and you want to go watch the football in Saudi, just don't be gay for 2 weeks, put it on pause. And there was a little bit of there was
a little bit, yeah.
I got a little bit of stick for that. But you know what? I've taken the time. I'm reformed now, and I'm much more open-minded.
Okay.
And I've been giving a little bit of thought to the Trent Alexander Arnold going towards making the decision to leave to Madrid, and I've thought about all of his possible reasons for going. And the only possible reason I can think of is that he's obviously in a very sexual, romantic, consensual, but BDSM relationship with Jude Bellingham. And, that has to be the only fucking reason that he would leave his boyhood club. Exactly. They get that swear jar ready, boys. We're going to be on a roll. Let me tell you something, because I mean, you think about everyone's throwing around these terms, traitor.
Yeah.
But the reality is that the opportunity that Trent had to be a one club man, it's so rare. When you really think about the greats of football, there's so few of them that have been there from the beginning all the way. They can turn around and say they've been at one club for their entire life. Trent had that on a plate. You know what I mean? And it's not like you're looking at players like in the past, your Michael Owens, your McManamans, who, yes, they went to Madrid and it hurt, but you almost understand it in the sense that neither of them was kind of in a team that was, guaranteed to win titles. And they wanted to go there, and they wanted to go to Madrid and to win titles. Trent's in a situation now that we're the champions elect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've possibly got the best team. I say team. I don't want to know about squad. Maybe there's going to be a little bit of change now in the summer. But best team, pretty much, or the best structure or infrastructure in the Premier League at the moment, and probably competing. To be able to compete in Europe. And nobody can tell me that he's got more chance of winning titles, let alone the Ballon d'Or at Madrid, than he does at Liverpool. And, we understand that he wants to, he came out in the press and he said that they asked him, what does he want? What does he make more important? To be a Liverpool captain, or to win the Champions League, or to win the Ballon d'Or. And he put the Ballon d'Or up there, which is fair enough. But the reality is why going to Madrid? Why does that entitle you to win the Ballon d'Or?
Yeah.
We looked at this last season, didn't Rodri wanted as a midfielder. Rodri wanted a midfielder, and who did he beat to the Ballon d'Or? Vinicius Junior. So there's no guarantee anymore of going to Madrid that you're going to to win the Ballon d'Or, that you go to Madrid. He could very much win it at Liverpool and continue to be a Liverpool player, to be a Liverpool legend. He would, if he would stay on, he would almost certainly break Carragher's appearance record. He would definitely be Liverpool captain. That would be on a fact. He would be this one club man. They would have a fucking stand named after him. There would be the Trent Alexander Arnold stand. But instead, he goes to what? To Madrid to be a forgotten Galactico.
Well, exactly.
How-
He's got no. He's got no absolute certainty that he'll be in the starting lineup. You know, Madrid have got players.
Let me tell you, Valverde, he's going to have to play fucking well. And we all know about Trent's defensive problems. Yes, the boy can pass the ball better than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But defensively, he's got issues. And who's the other right back they've got there? The one that's injured?
Not Conor Bradley.
No. I'm talking at Madrid.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah, but he comes back.
Mango, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He's outstanding. And I think actually if you're going to look at a right back as a right back, Trent's in a funny role. He's like, is he a right back? He's a fullback, but he's a fullback who can't really defend. But going forward, he's got godly fucking divine talents, passing a football. But I do, and I think what's irritating or upsetting Liverpool fans the most when it comes to Trent is that he's going on a free.
Yeah.
If you love the club, and I think that stings much more. I think that's the sting, is that we're losing effectively. We're now losing. What's his value at? I think he was valued at something like 85 million pounds.
Easy,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's an 85 million pound asset that we have developed, that we've trained, that we've created. We've built this guy up, and
over 20 years.
You want to go sign a contract. They gave him the opportunity last season to sign a contract. He said, no, sign the contract, then go, at least leave. If you're going to leave and give the club a little bit of something. So I think it's in that sense that I think there's his legacy or is definitely going to be tarnished. And I won't be surprised if he's booed, when we lift the title, touch wood, there's no wood around me to touch fucking wood. But when we lift the title, don't be surprised if there's a little bit of booze coming, when he raises that. And it's a pity because he had a chance that very few footballers have, and he's destroyed it.
So Madrid have got this thing there. I mean, there's big money club, but they've got a history of signing top English players for nada. So Beckham, free transfer. Steve McManaman, free transfer.
No.
Michael Owen, Jonathan Woodgate. And the only Liverpool player I think there was Xabi Alonso when he went to them. We made money from him. But they basically just so Real Madrid are just a bunch of tight asses like using big name players, and then Kylian Mbappe, David Alba, Antonio Rudiger from Chelsea. They basically don't like paying for players, and they just like big names. And he'll get lost in that system for me.
But look, I think he's going to be found out. But I think, aside from him, stripping Jude Bellingham or taking it up the top, one of the two, or aside from that reason, I can understand it almost in a way that he's 26. Yeah. He's won everything. There's arguments to say that he's won everything at Liverpool. He's been a great servant to the club, almost. And that he wants to go and have these experiences. You look at Beckham going, to Italy and going to Spain. And if you see how Beckham as a brand, and I think Trent sees himself almost as a brand. He looks at himself as a brand. So I think him going there to have those kind of experiences, listen, I would love to say good luck to him.
Yeah.
But I struggle to,
Yeah. Michael Owen wanted to come back after he went, and I think it wasn't Rafa Benitez. And they said no. They said no, Brew, we've got no space for you. So he went to Newcastle then. He said he wasn't enjoying, wasn't loving it. As I think T.S. Eliot
said.
But
it was almost understandable when Owen and McManaman went. Like I said, like yes, McManaman was in that Spice Boy, that Spice Boy team with Fowler and the boys, but they weren't there to. Yeah. They weren't title winning side. We're at the beginning of a slot era here. That if Trent was a part of that, who knows how? I mean, he's already going to have 2 Premier League medals, and he's got the Champions Leagues.
Got everything basically,
and he's got everything. But how many more could he possibly have? He could go down as one of the most decorated Liverpool players of all time. That kind of legacy. Yes, players are great players and they have great careers, but very few of them are kept on that mantelpiece, almost that godly mantelpiece. You know what I mean? You talk about the greats.
Yeah.
Those almost. I want to say it's almost divine. You know what I mean? They have this superstar kind of energy. And Trent had that. And I think I think when people look back at Trent, you think about your Gerrards and your Carragers. And I think if you look at Gerrard and Carragher, why also Carragher, especially because he was he was that one club man. I mean,
he was an Everton fan when he grew up, by the way.
I mean, people talk about that he's not a true one club man because I think he had a trial at Everton or whatever it is as a kid. Yeah. But even Gerrard isn't a one club man.
Yeah.
But he still said no. He said no to Chelsea. Mm-hmm. He looked at it, and I think there's that respect. And I think especially as a boyhood, you're a Scouser. Mm-hmm. What else? What more is there? If you've got the opportunity to leave United behind with the Premier League titles. I think now we equal them on 20.
Yeah.
You've got the opportunity to get closer to Madrid with regards to Champions Leagues. You literally could go down as a fucking legend. And it's a pity.
Fernando Torres said the same thing when he left £50 million to go to Chelsea, and he came back to play a Legends game. And I think he was speaking to Mascherano, and he said, well, why did I leave? I miss it. You must, basically, this is my soul. This is where I play my best football.
Yeah.
He and Gerrard had a telepathic understanding. And his legacy is that he went to Chelsea, won one title, and didn't play the same sort of football.
I think the difference is we've got more life experience of what Trent does. And so Daniel puts a very good picture there. He's 26, wanting something different and new, whereas we're saying, no, stay. Because if you do, you become that divine being, as you put it. But he doesn't see it like that. He'll be back in a year. And he'll be sorry. But I guess it's for him to be sorry and not so much for us.
Yeah.
But you know what? You also look at a lot of, and I think Trent's got to be careful because he's going to, if he's not the absolute top notch, he's going to be found out. Mm-hmm. And I think if you look at a lot of you mentioned Torres, and you're 100% spot on. But another one you could look at as Coutinho. Mm-hmm. What did we sell Coutinho to Barcelona?
125 million pounds,
where's Coutinho now? You know what I mean? So a lot of players, that almost that grass isn't greener on the other side. And a lot of the players, I think if I can think of guys that have gone from Liverpool, to big money transfers that have really made, I mean, you can look at McCallum that he won Champions League, sure. But was he really the player that he was at Liverpool? No. Owen, maybe the only one that I can possibly think of is Alonso.
Yeah.
That really left us and went to a different level.
But Benitez didn't like him, exactly,
But a lot of the guys leave us and they go down. They go one way down. Mm-hmm. I think the last point on Trent is that I think there's also an element of maybe he hasn't been properly appreciated. In England.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the national squad. I mean, we almost talk about Trent as the best right back in the world, but he struggled to get into England. Manager gaffer after gaffer, he struggled to get into the England side. I think Walker was keeping out for ages. So, I think he's maybe he feels a little bit unappreciated in England. And you know what? Good luck to him.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be an exciting summer. I think with the Trent stuff, does Virgil stay? Does Mo stay? Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of business to be done, which is, I think, from a Liverpool fan, I think it's exciting. Yeah. I think it's an exciting. I think we haven't spent much in the last couple of seasons. I mean, last season, I think who did we just bring in Chiesa?
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah.
So we've got big coffers, and I think we're going to go off. I think if we can get this Isaac from Newcastle, I think he's a quality finisher. Cool. And there's I think I like the other boy from Bournemouth, the left back there, Kirk is. Yeah. He's outstanding. I think there'll be some interesting movements. It's going to be an interesting summer. Exciting times.
This is definitely a conversation we're going to have next week. That's the show, Daniel. It's been a while, a long time, and it's been great. Thank you for being on the show.
I really like that.
We made a fortune in the swear jar.
Yeah, we did.
So we got about $150 in there.
I wonder if he knows he's been penalised yet at all.
But we'll be back on Monday. No football. There's Premiership. Yeah. See you on Monday.
Not the sports news on Omni Audio Dance Africa.